All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr. We're previewing Alabama versus Houston. These two, Max, are going to take place. They're going to go at it on Tuesday night in Las
Yes.
Vegas, in what should be a very fun tournament. As we'll look more at the bracket as we go along here. But yeah, this should be a great early season matchup. We're recording this on Monday morning. We don't have the line yet for this game as usual when we record these. But Max, you can do the math and probably see an interesting path to this being a pretty close game once the number comes out and we kind of see where Vegas stands on this.
What a late November matchup. An absolute treat to get a game like this. A true, people like to throw around the word Final Four a lot when they're hyping up games. A true Final Four caliber matchup here between Houston and Alabama. We don't have a line yet, so don't come crushing me if this is off. But Ken Pom has it by 5 for Houston, and Bart Torvik has it by 4.7 for Houston. I'm not going to lie, Blake. If this line opens up Houston -5, like the computers are saying, I think that's a few too many points. I bet we will probably get an opening line about a one possession favorite for Houston.
Well, this isn't the Players Era Thanksgiving Festival, is what this is. Again, you've got some pretty good teams in this. I mean, we already know some of the matchups too. A&M's going to play Creighton in this one. Alabama's second game will be against Rutgers. So you kind of already have those, first couple matchups, and then it'll be decided from there based on the winners, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think this is, just it's interesting, right? We've seen Houston play Auburn already. We talked about that game in depth going into it, kind of what the keys were going to be in a game like that. This is an SEC channel, but we got Houston fans coming in for the second time.
Yeah.
Probably, just us giving thoughts on their team. I keep saying it. I think Kelvin Sampson, one of the best coaches in the country. And I think you just look at the way this team is built, Max. I mean, they're going to present some challenges for this Alabama team. Alabama got back on track against Illinois, after that loss to Purdue. We talked about Alabama. They're without Chris Youngblood still due to injury. Mark Sears didn't have his best game, scoring 0 points against Illinois. The problem for Houston probably is, guess what? He's going to score in this game. He's going to put up some points, probably. But I think this is where it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic here because we know how good Houston is. They've been shooting the ball ridiculously well to this point. Alabama is not. But there's a lot of ways you can go with this matchup, Max. Two Final Four type teams here, the way they're built.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned the guards. I'll start in the front court. Auburn, obviously, I already saw Houston, but what they didn't see much of was Javier Francis, kind of the defensive anchor for Kelvin Sampson. Francis was one of the best rim protectors in the nation last year. Coming off an injury, didn't really. I saw a tweet that said Kelvin Sampson said that Francis didn't practice for 19 straight days, ending October, beginning November. So you got Francis coming in here, not up to game condition yet. He played 9 minutes, 13 minutes, 15 minutes, still 4 blocks in the past 2 games. But what I'm going to be interested to see is Francis, is he going to be back up to his 20, 25 minutes a game, just swatting everything around the rim, making life difficult for the Auburn front court or Alabama front court, excuse me. But if he is still at that 10, 13, 15-minute mark, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Big JoJo Tugler and Jawan Roberts to run the whole game, as we know Alabama likes to do.
All right, before we get into everything else, let's quickly tell you about our friends at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform. Your number one source for online betting. You'll be able to bet on this game there. Of course, too, the earliest odds to in-game live betting. Bet Online provides you with all the action. Really watch the games as they happen. Largest selection of odds, everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, MMA. You can head up Bet Online today. Get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online. The game starts here. All right, so you talk about kind of the front court situation, like you said. Francis, I think, is a big X factor here, just because, like we said, looking back at the Auburn game, now seeing kind of the way he's advanced now, and you expect him to play a big role in this game. Yeah, I mean, because we know what Alabama's going to do, right? Houston knows exactly what Alabama's going to do. They're going to shoot threes, or they're going to try to get to the rim and try to make shots there and see if they can get to the free throw line. And so that's the thing is we say it all the time, like Alabama's approach offensively is not a mystery. Yet they're still really hard to stop. And that just speaks to, I think, again, Nate Oats' ability to, get the right guys in his system. And I think that's what it comes down to. When you look at this front court group, you're talking about Grant Nelson and, at any time being able to pop off for 20 plus points. Just had the big 23-point game against Illinois. We talked about Big Cliff. He's played in some big games. And I think, his physicality will be very important in a game like this against Houston. And then Jaron Stevenson. You keep going down the line. Even though Stevenson has been in a bit of a shooting slump, there are still other things that I think he can do well here to give them quality minutes. And look, the numbers tell you that he's probably going to make a shot here. I cannot see Jaron Stevenson continuing on the slump. So he's going to be able, I think, to give him a little bit something offensively, maybe knock down a 3 or 2 somewhere, get out of the slump. Hard team to do it against, but so when you look at the depth in the front court, I think that's big for Alabama in a game like this. And then if you do transition to the backcourt, we were joking about the Sears thing, but Mark Sears isn't going to have another scoreless game this season unless he doesn't play. Like, he's going to score. Even though we know Houston's going to key in on him, that's where, Max, the emergence of LeBaron Philon has been huge this year for Alabama. Knowing what you're getting from the other guards with Wrightsell and Holloway, I think that's, we talk about depth. These are two teams with a lot of depth on each side, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun because you're going to have different matchups, different rotations, and who guards who. When you get into some of these key stretches, that could actually be what determines the game because there's a lot of depth on both sides here.
Yeah, I mean, it's no question there's stars on each side, and I think they're going to trade blows. Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp are going to get theirs, and then, Philon and Mark Sears, they're going to get theirs. In games like this, we saw it in the Auburn-Houston game when it was Pettiford that was the guy that stepped up. It's usually someone else. For Alabama, those guys are, like you said, Jaron Stevenson. Is it a Darian Reed? Does Latrell Wrightsell knock down a few shots? And for Houston, is it a Terrence Arsenault game? Malik Wilson? JoJo Tugler? Is it those support guys? Whose support guys win? Because Houston is as deep as they come, and they can shoot the rock. So they're going to be able to hang with exactly what Alabama's strengths are, but whose support system steps up and lifts them up. I think that might be the difference in this game. But in a game like this where it's as competitive as this, Blake, I mean, it can come down to one possession. I mean, it can come down to like one traveling violation. It can be the difference in a game like this.
Well, and I think stylistically too, Alabama's going to get up and down the floor. We know it's a little bit different with Houston. They're going to try to grind you and beat you.
Yep.
I mean, not to say they can't get up and down the floor if they need to, but like they're going to try to put you in a blender here and really sort of just grind you, on both sides. And I think that's where, if you're Alabama, you know what to expect there with that. Like I mentioned, in terms of just the numbers, the way the percentages are playing out now in certain areas, if you go to KenPom, Houston's a top 5 team in both offense and defense. Alabama's certainly a top 5 offensive team. Not quite there defensively. We think that'll get better when Youngblood comes back, but he's not playing in this game.
Yep.
And, Houston has taken care of the ball, and again, shot the 3 well. I mentioned it, 48.8% shooting from 3 right now. But you also have to know that a lot of these numbers early simply are what they are, right? Alabama has played a tougher schedule to this point. Houston had the one big game against Auburn. Alabama has already played a really good mid-major team in Arkansas State, another good mid-major team in McNeese, the game at Purdue, the neutral court game, which was in Birmingham against Illinois. I mean, they have played 4, I think, significant games at this point. And so I think that could be something, too, that plays into this. Alabama, pretty battle-tested so far, even though this might be the biggest challenge of all, and I would say it is, in playing this Houston team. So we'll go to predictions, Max. I'll let you go first because I think this is, I said it earlier, these are two teams that are built for the Final Four. It's an early season, November matchup. I mean, let's all be honest with ourselves. We could see either of these teams winning this game. But it's just, like you said, what's going to be the 1 or 2 plays that sort of defines this game remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm not leaning one way or the other. Where the line drops is going to be where I pick this game. The one thing I originally liked Houston, but then Houston is literally the number 1 3-point shooting team in the country right now, like 49%. It's just unsustainable. I mean, Emmanuel Sharp and LJ Cryer are 2 of the best shooters in the country, yes, but that is just an unsustainable number. And on the flip side, Alabama has not shot the ball well at all. So I think that there's some 3-point variance on each side that might kind of even itself out. But honestly, Blake, it comes down to if this line opens up about -5 for Houston, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot of points. I'll take Houston. If this line opens up closer to a pick'em, maybe 2 points, 1 point, I'm on Alabama. But for the sake of this video or an SEC channel, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Nate Oats, give us a big win on a nice Tuesday night in late November. Give me the tide.
I am also going to pick Alabama. I didn't know if I was going to. You didn't sway me with that speech there because everyone knows I'm a Kelvin Sampson super fan. I say that in every video we do. That, when we talk about Houston, and I don't know though. I think Alabama in that game against Illinois. Houston is not Illinois. I think Houston is simply better, but.
Yes.
I just feel like Alabama so far has played these tough games over the past couple weeks, and we've seen some ups, we've seen some downs at times. But I just think playing these kind of games has been helpful for them, and I do think, you have a neutral court game here where style will win out, in my opinion, in terms of I think Alabama probably gets this game going a bit, and if they do, I do like a big bounce back game potentially for Mark Sears. We talked about Philon. He may be a freshman, but the guy's not scared of the moment at all. He stepped up in big plays. And again, they have big play guys in Grant Nelson that are stepping up too. And Houston is a very tough team to score consistently against. We know that. Look at the 3 games they played, not named Auburn, right? 40, 45, 44 points. So it's always a challenge. And I don't know that Alabama puts up 100 here or anything, but I will take Alabama offensively finding just enough to get the win. But like I said, come on. Anybody can win this game. Houston expected to probably be, the betting favorite in this one. So if you're picking Houston here, I'm not going to argue against that either, just based on how good this team is. And like we said, Max, maybe wanting a little revenge on the state of Alabama after the loss to Auburn. So we'll see how Alabama matches up with Houston, just like we saw how things played out in that game against Auburn a couple weeks ago. We'll have you covered here at Southeastern 16. We'll certainly be sharing our reaction to that game on Wednesday morning. We do a live reaction show, sharing thoughts. So, yes, appreciate you guys watching. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out. If you're Houston fans, welcome back. And again, probably be more games against Houston, hopefully, here in the near future for SEC teams. But there you go, guys. Our thoughts on Alabama, Houston. Appreciate you watching. We'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern 16.